God, that's fun.
I hope you got that on video.
It was the summer of 2008, and Mom and I just did some fishing. We didn't have a boat back then, so we just fished from shore. Back at our rental house, we had a little pond with goldfish in it, and I even rigged up a nightlight for our goldfish pond. That entire summer, I flew Monday and Wednesday night overnights to Idaho Falls. And Brad and I flew down to Springfield, Missouri to rescue the Bonanza with hail damage. It was about a week before our wedding, and we really didn't have anything to do because our wedding was all planned and set to go. So Mom said, "I'm jumping in the shower, you figure out someplace for us to fly this weekend." 6 hours later, we were sitting in Seattle for a romantic weekend together. You know your dad, I gotta find me some seafood. Sometimes I wonder if our future and our destinies are written in our past. We spent that afternoon and evening walking around downtown Seattle. The next day, Mom said, "Let's get out of town." We spent that day out by Mount Rainier, enjoying the peace and quiet of the wilderness. Mom wanted to see the famous Seattle fish market, so our last day we went back into town to watch the fish being thrown. It was quite an experience. On our way out of town, I spotted Mount Rainier, and I had an original Palm Trio with GPS coupled, running navigational software, which was almost unheard of at this time. It was the day before our wedding. Mom and I were checked in to a cabin on the shores of Gull Lake at Grandview Lodge. That evening we headed to Sherwood Forest for an amazing meal together. Tomorrow was our big day. In the morning, all of our closest family and friends began to show up. Grandma and Grandpa, Gretchen, Charisse, and Denise. There was only one man to photograph my wedding. Thanks, Joe. Brad and Tony wouldn't have missed it. There was just two last individuals who had to show up before the ceremony could begin. We didn't want fancy clothes or big traditions. We wanted our wedding to be simple and beautiful and all about our love. We were married at some ruins in the woods at Grandview Lodge. Our friends and family joined us for a dinner celebration before we headed off that night to one of our favorite places on Gull Lake, Zorba's. And with a little hot sauce, this thing was official. After the wedding, it was back to life as usual with Mom and Murph and I. We spent a lot of time up at the lake in Brainerd, and I was really into hiking. I had been out around the St. Croix River quite a bit doing hiking, but was longing for something a little grander. So I went to the airport one day and I just climbed on a flight to Honolulu. The flight was free, but other than that, we really didn't have much money, so I just walked around to see whatever I could see. That's the beauty of hiking and photography. They're both relatively free. I only spent one day there, but it was absolutely gorgeous. Now you could ask, what would be the point of flying to Honolulu, Hawaii for one day? And that's a pretty good argument. But considering it only cost me about $10 in fuel to drive to the Minneapolis airport, and I had nothing else to do, I figured, why not? There's a really amazing world out there, but if you want to see it, you have to go out there, and you have to open your eyes. Mom and Murph and I were really into camping that summer, and we took every opportunity we could to just get out in the woods and hang out. One day I got a really awesome idea. I stashed a bike in Wild River State Park. Then I took my inflatable kayak and went 10 miles up the river. I spent the majority of that day just floating down the St. Croix River with little more than my thoughts and a whisper in the wind. When I got to the bike, I stashed the kayak and biked 10 miles back to where I parked the Jeep. Then I went back to pick up the kayak and headed home. It wasn't long before Mom and Murph and I were at it again. We climbed in the Jeep and off we went. There wasn't any plan back then. We just went wherever the wind blew us. We visited Jay Cook State Park and the St. Louis River. Then we headed into Duluth and out on to Park Point. We swung by my all-time favorite store, watched some sailboats pass the lighthouse and the lift bridge. Then we ended our amazing summer with a lovely dinner at Nokomis. I believe the most important thing in life is the people that you share your life with. The second most important thing is solitude in nature. When we are out there by ourselves long enough, all of our questions will be answered.